Welcome back to Fresh Food Therapy. And doesn't it kind of hit you sometimes that life doesn't turn out exactly the way that you intended it? Here I am, about to teach you how to make new and improved Kraft macaroni and cheese for dinner. If someone had told me that I would be filmed on TV and that I would be teaching people how to make Kraft macaroni and cheese, I would probably have looked at them with a blank stare. And I'm thinking that after this episode, the spirits of my ancestors may very well be very upset with me. But being that what it is, we have a job to do, and that is to teach you how to eat healthier, but at the same time teach you how to prepare meals quickly and things that you want to eat. So, although I could teach you how to make macaroni and cheese from scratch with a roux, today what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to make Kraft dinner in a way that will actually allow it to cream back up so that leftovers are actually usable, and in the same amount of time that it makes you to make a normal box of Kraft macaroni and cheese, we're going to teach you also how to make a little bit of fresh garlic cheese bread and a little bit of Caesar salad so you do not make the Kraft dinner and sit in front of the television with the entire package and eat it all in one sitting because you know that it won't be good the next day. So, are we ready to start? So before we start the macaroni and cheese, which I know is what you want, I'm going to teach you one of my best and most original recipes. I didn't learn this from anybody, I just put it together myself. I'm gonna take full credit for it. It is garlic compound butter. And what we're gonna do for this is we're gonna take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, about the same volume as the butter that we're gonna be using. And we're gonna put it into the pan. The key to recipes that you're making is to keep it simple. So what I find is that if I can come up with a recipe where you know intrinsically what the measurements are, that's usually going to be consistent. This one was a recipe that literally, once it came together, hasn't been changed in about 15 or 20 years, and it's always fantastic. Okay, we're going to turn the heat on a medium high. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna mince some fresh garlic. I put about a half a cup of butter and a half a cup of olive oil into the pan, and 3 cloves should be all that you need. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna be very, very careful, and you're gonna mince. And you want this to be as small as possible and uniform. If you have a garlic press, this is a great recipe to use the garlic press on because it'll pulverize the garlic and also make sure that they come out about the same size evenly. The reason why you're going to mince it fine is A, you want the flavor to go through the oil evenly, and also when you're eating the garlic bread, you don't want to bite into a straight up big old piece of garlic. It has a tendency to really wake you up. You'll know when it's the right size when it looks like they're just about the size of a piece of rice. And there you have it. The garlic is minced fine, and we're gonna add it to the oil. Now here is how quick this dish comes together. The moment it goes into the oil, you're gonna hear it start to sizzle. That's usually a sign that the olive oil is nice and hot and it's going fine. What you don't want to do is you don't want to brown the garlic, because as garlic begins to cook, as it browns, it becomes bitter, and that's not what we want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn and show you the olive oil and the garlic is together, and the olive oil is just getting hot, just starting to bubble a little bit. In about, I would say, 40 seconds, the garlic is gonna start to float to the top and become translucent. that's when you want to stop cooking the garlic. And while we're waiting for the garlic to get to that point, we're going to unwrap the entire stick of butter. To make this melt faster and easier, we can cut the butter into pieces, because the more surface area, the faster the butter will melt and the more evenly it'll melt. Okay, I promised you about 40 seconds. You'll see that the garlic is starting to float and it's sauteing very nicely. Once you get to that point, you're going to turn off the heat and you're going to put the butter into the pan. It's going to bring the temperature down very quickly, and it's going to melt the butter into the oil and the garlic. So as you can see, you'll get a little bit of bubbling at the top as the butter melts in. And we're going to wait until the butter melts all the way through. Then you'll have the butter and the olive oil together with the garlic that has been just sauteed to the point of being translucent. And then we're going to doctor it up for its final push. Now the butter has been completely melted and we're ready to doctor up the dish. It looks like it's turning into just melted butter. What we're going to do is we're going to take the Lowry's garlic salt and we're going to give it a rather generous shaking. We're going to put in about maybe a teaspoon to a tablespoon of garlic salt. And then we're going to add Italian seasoning, a rather generous portion because you want it to mix in and give a little bit of color to the butter. I would say maybe about 2 heaping tablespoons. You're going to give it a stir. And you now have your garlic compound butter. The next step is kind of humorous. You need to take it and put it into the freezer because you have to cool it down so that you can mix it so that the garlic and the seasonings are all blended in evenly, because the different ingredients are different weights and different sizes. It won't blend until it becomes almost solid. So we're going to put it into the freezer and then we're going to start the rest of the process. Now, after we have chilled the garlic butter down to the point where it becomes a solid, it should be evenly mixed, smooth concoction. What we're going to do to make the bread now is we're literally going to take a loaf of French bread, we're going to cut it in half, and we're going to lay it on the baking sheet. Now that we've done that, this is real quick and really easy. We're going to take a little bit of the garlic butter and we're going to spread it onto the loaf thinly. And you have the garlic. You can leave it just like that and you can toast it till it's golden brown in the broiler in the oven. If you want to take it one step further, you've got Kraft Parmesan and Romano cheese. You can sprinkle it over the top. This will add a bite to the bread, give it a cheesy character and add a great deal of flavor to the garlic bread. You can stop there and toast it, and it makes absolutely fantastic garlic bread. But if you're really gonna go over the top and you're really gonna take care of yourself and the people that you love, take a little bit of fresh mozzarella. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that over the top. It will protect it and it will allow the cheese to melt and become bubbly and create the garlic cheese bread that everybody loves. Now the bread is ready to be put into the oven. We're going to put it in at 400 degrees and we're going to cook it just to the point where the cheese is melted and crispy. The time has finally come, and we're about to unveil the recipe for making the macaroni and cheese. We're gonna rip open the package, we're gonna boil the pasta, and in the time that it takes to make the pasta, we're literally going to build the cheese sauce that we'll fold the pasta into. It'll be real quick, and as soon as the pasta is done, we'll coat it and we'll serve, and you'll have dinner ready. When the water is boiling, we add the pasta. We will now have 8 to 10 minutes to prepare the cheese sauce. So now we're gonna build the cheese sauce. And it's very similar to what is expected by the instructions on the box, but we're gonna alter them just a little bit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a saucepan or a fry pan, and we're gonna put in the amount of butter that the recipe asks for, which is 8 teaspoons or tablespoons of butter. That's 1 whole stick of butter. But we've never been really good at following instructions, so we're gonna add a little bit more. I would say 1/3 of another stick. Now, the instructions say that we're gonna put in 1/2 cup of milk. Okay, we'll get 1/2 cup of milk. But we're gonna add a little bit more. Maybe 2 more ounces, 3 more ounces. Now this is where the earth-shattering difference comes in. There are 2 camps in macaroni and cheese off the shelf. One is the Velveeta group and the other is the Kraft Dinner group. I think that we can agree that sometimes warring factions can come together to work together towards a combined goal. And today, since we're gonna make macaroni and cheese that is going to cream back up when it's reheated, we're gonna use some Velveeta in the recipe. We're gonna take about 3 nice chunks of Velveeta. I would say about 1/2 inch per slice. And we're gonna fold that into the milk and the butter. I'm gonna cube it so that they have a chance to melt more evenly. Now, as it warms up and as the pieces melt, this should create a very smooth, creamy sauce that's a little looser than the typical Velveeta cheese sauce that you would get if you were buying Velveeta in shells. It's almost melted now to the point where it's smooth. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna lower the heat to low, and then we're gonna fold in the Kraft flavor package. You want to fold it in as evenly as possible because it's now not loose like milk and butter melted together, but instead it's almost a rich and creamy cheese sauce in and of itself. And now we're gonna begin to very easily fold it in so that it melts into the cheese sauce, giving it that flavor that you love from Kraft Dinner while still keeping the texture of smooth and creamy. You wanna make sure that it stays nice and smooth and that all of the little bumps and air bubbles are worked out. And now we're gonna fold in the pasta. Pasta just came out, it's drained, and we're ready to mix it into the cheese sauce. Are you ready? We're gonna fold now the pasta into the cheese sauce. You can already see how rich the sauce is. And you wanna make sure that all of the pasta is evenly coated with this cheese sauce. Now, if you're anything like me, the time is ticking because the time that it takes from the pasta to be done to putting in the first bite in your mouth should only be about 60 seconds. So we've already put the pasta in, and now we're just gonna make the Caesar salad in preparation for the pasta that should be ready in just a few moments. So Caesar salad was invented in Tijuana, Mexico by Cesar Cardini. What we're going to do is we're going to make a cheat version. In a later episode, I'll teach you how to make Caesar salad from scratch, but today, time is of the essence and we're gonna cheat a little bit. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start by prepping the lettuce. All you have to do literally is take a head of romaine and we're going to slice it in strips evenly from bottom to top. This will give you bite-sized pieces of romaine, and what we're going to do now is, holding the romaine very carefully, we're going to cut, and one head of romaine should make enough salad for about 15 people. And you can literally cut it right down to the very roots. What we're going to do now is move the salad into the bowl in preparation of making the dressing. The next step is very, very simple. We're going to add a little bit of dressing. And I use Gerard's. It's, to me, the most authentic and beautiful tasting of the over-the-counter Caesar dressings. You only have to use a little bit. For a whole head of romaine, you're looking at about maybe 2 to 3 ounces. So we're going to toss the salad with the dressing just to coat all the lettuce. It doesn't take a lot of dressing, but you do have to make sure that it's spread evenly. Once all of the leaves have been evenly coated, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of lemon. The fresh lemon will actually bring out the brightness in the dressing and make the flavors sing. One wedge of lemon should be enough, and then we're going to coat again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper and a little bit of cheese and sprinkle it over the top. The reason why we didn't add the cheese earlier is because if it's not evenly coated and if it isn't evenly mixed, the cheese will clump. Now we're just going to toss it one last time to get the pepper and the cheese blended in evenly. Now that we've tossed the salad, all we have left is to put it to the side until we're just about to serve it, and we'll add the croutons at the last minute so that they stay crisp and crunchy and don't get soggy on you. I would like to say that I'm not happy how this turned out, but I have to be honest, we've got to get it into the plate and we've got to eat it because I can't wait any longer. The pasta is done. The garlic cheese bread is done and the Caesar salad is done, so we're going to plate it. What I would suggest is plate it in the order of pasta, then bread, then salad, and then serve. So we're going to take a nice generous portion of the new and improved Kraft dinner. And then we're going to add a little bit of fresh salad after we toss in a little bit of the fresh croutons that we've been asking for. Well, we're done and we're ready to consume. But I will tell you this. You have in front of you not just a plate of Kraft macaroni and cheese, but instead you have a new and improved Kraft dinner with fresh garlic cheese bread and some Caesar salad to make the meal a little bit more nutritious and a little bit more interesting. And it was all made in the same amount of time that it takes to make normal Kraft dinner. The cost per portion on this is about $3.85. It can be a little less or a little more depending on the size of the portions that you put on your plate, but I'm going to tell you that if you're willing to just put the cost to the side for a moment, you now have a Kraft macaroni and cheese, which if there's any leftovers, you can put it right back into the microwave the next day or on the stove and it'll cream right back up and be as rich and wonderful as the first time. Thank you for joining us for Fresh Food Therapy. Enjoy your macaroni and cheese, and we'll see you again soon.